Hello, and welcome to today's episode. I thought it would be so much fun if I went through and did a whole little mini series on my podcast for every chapter of my book, Rewriting Life's Rules: How to Break Free from Society. So each week I'll just drop a new chapter. And for this one, we're going to start with the beautiful introduction, how this book works, and chapter 1. So, how this book works. Do you ever just sit there and think, how did I get here? This isn't the life I imagined for myself. I thought I'd be happier by now. Is this really all there is? If you've ever felt that way, trust me, you're not alone. Those thoughts ran through my mind for years, leaving me stuck, restless, and unsure how to break free. I felt lost and didn't even realize I had the power to change things, that I could actually rewrite my story. It took hitting rock bottom for me to finally see the truth. I was in control. The only thing that needed to shift were the beliefs and rules I had been living by. So many of us are walking through life carrying beliefs we didn't choose. Beliefs shaped by childhood, trauma, culture, or fear. But what if we could question those beliefs? What if we could choose again? Around that time, my mom introduced me to Mandy Morris, the co-founder of Authentic Living. Mandy runs a program focused on personal growth and healing and has written several books. When I first heard about her, she had just released a new book, The 8 Secrets to Manifestation. I'm going to pause there. If you haven't read that yet, do yourself a favor, read that book. It's wonderful. And was offering a free 8-day live event to those who pre-ordered it. My mom bought me a copy and I joined the event. Toward the end of that experience, Mandy spoke about her coaching certification program. I sat with the idea for a few days, and then I decided to go for it. While going through the course, the concept of rewriting your rules came up again. And again, I asked, how do you rewrite them in a way your subconscious actually believes? She answered, rewrite them in a way your subconscious can accept. That line stuck with me. I had to sit with it for a while before it really clicked. But when it did, everything changed. And that's when the idea for this book was born. Rewriting your rules means identifying the hidden beliefs that have been shaping your life and consciously choosing new ones that align with who you really are and the life you want to create. It's not just mindset work, it's also soul work. This was one of the hardest lessons I've ever had to learn, but also the most life-changing. Once I embraced it, new opportunities started to unfold. My life began to transform in ways I never thought possible. This book is a guide for anyone who's ever felt stuck, disconnected, or like they're living by someone else's rules. Inside, you'll learn how to break free from outdated beliefs, reconnect with your truth, and create a life that feels like yours. I'll share my own experiences with you, honestly and openly, as we walk through the core areas of life and how I personally redefine them. Together, we'll break down the rules that once held you back, and I'll walk you through the process of rewriting the ones that will move you forward. Each of us is the author of our own story. And for your story to feel aligned, each area of your life deserves to be balanced and connected in a way that feels true to you. You've followed the old rules long enough. Now it's time to remember, you are the creator of your life. Let's make it a beautiful one. So, what are beliefs and rules and how they shape our reality? We all live by a set of beliefs and rules. Some we consciously choose, other we've absorbed without even realizing it. These unseen frameworks quietly shape how we think, behave, and make sense of the world. They influence what we strive for, how we respond to challenges, and even what we believe we deserve. But where do these beliefs come from? And what happens when they no longer serve us? To understand how deeply they shape our lives, we first need to look at where they actually are. Let's start with the simple definitions of both beliefs and rules. According to the Webster Dictionary, belief is defined as a state or habit of mind in which trust or confidence is placed in some person or thing. Something that is accepted, considered to be true, or held as an opinion. Conviction of the truth of some statement or the reality of some being or phenomenon, especially when based on examination of evidence. And rule is defined as a prescribed guide for conduct or action. The laws or regulations prescribed by the founder of a religious order for observance by its members. An accepted procedure, custom, or habit. Even these simple definitions reveal how powerful beliefs and rules can be in shaping our lives. We develop them based on our personal experiences, social and cultural conditioning, and emotional and psychological factors. Over time, they became the invisible boundaries of our world, often guiding us long after we've forgotten where they come from. So the snapshot of my life. I grew up in an affluent area where most families were upper middle class or above. It was the kind of place where people didn't lock their doors or worry about their cars being broken into. Life felt safe, protected, and insulated, a bubble that convinced me the world was supposed to work that way. That illusion shattered during the 2008 economic crash. My bubble popped, and I realized life didn't always follow the rules I've been taught. That crash was a major turning point in my life. It forced me to start forming new beliefs, especially around money and stability. Like many teens, I had a rocky relationship with my father. Most of our conflict centered on how I wanted to live versus how he thought I should. After my parents divorced when I was 15, my brother and I moved in with him. Though I didn't show it at the time, it affected me deeply. I began forming unconscious rules about relationships, how they were supposed to work, and how love was shown. Around that time, I also began struggling with depression, though I didn't recognize it for what it was. I assumed there was something inherently wrong with me. I later realized my first suicidal thoughts had started around age 6, and they only intensified as I got older. In my senior year of high school, I pushed myself hard. I took 3 advanced placement classes and an early morning college course through a dual enrollment program. If I passed everything, I would have completed my first semester of college before even setting foot on campus. Looking back, I realized I was trying to prove something to myself and to everyone else that I was smart enough to succeed. When I moved to North Carolina in first grade, I was the only student in my class who couldn't read yet. It was devastating. I was teased relentlessly, and the wounds from that time stayed with me. For years, I struggled with spelling, and one teacher even recommended I repeat a grade. They suspected I had dyslexia or ADHD, but my mom refused to put me on medication, something I'm grateful for now. Still, I felt like I had to work twice as hard just to keep up. This insecurity only grew when my younger brother seemed to absorb information effortlessly. I took it as proof that something was wrong with me. As college approached, the fear of failure became overwhelming. I was terrified I wouldn't be able to handle the academic pressure. At the same time, I was deeply passionate about marine biology and coral reef conservation. I dreamed of living on an island, teaching scuba diving, and protecting the ocean. But when I shared that dream, it sparked a huge argument with my dad. He told me I'd be setting myself up for failure if I didn't go to college. So I compromised. I chose a marine biology program at an out-of-state school where I knew no one from my high school would be. I don't regret going to college. I met incredible people, many of whom are still in my life. I participated in fascinating research and learned a great deal, despite the challenging coursework. But I carried the mindset of C's get degrees, which led to the procrastination, not putting in the study time I needed for passing grades, and many missed opportunities for deeper growth, all because I wasn't willing to miss out on a good party. After graduating early, I was shocked by how hard it was to find a job. I assumed it would be easy, but most positions required a master's degree and prior experience, usually gained through unpaid internships. I was lost and unsure how I'd make ends meet. That's when I joined the Coast Guard, a decision many of my college friends mocked me, saying, "You only joined because you couldn't find a real job." Now, let me be clear. I will always be proud of and thankful for the men and women who choose to serve regardless of their reasons. It's not easy, and most people have no idea the sacrifices involved in protecting our country. Basic training was one of the hardest things I've ever done physically and mentally. It's designed to break you down and rebuild you. You're forced to adopt new rules quickly, many of which didn't align with who I was at my core. People often ask if I regret joining. My answer is always no. I loved every job I had during active duty. The Coast Guard took me places I never thought I'd go, including California, a long life dream of mine. I met incredible people and had unforgettable experiences, but I also endured some of the hardest moments of my life. Both the highs and lows shape who I am today. I met my ex-husband while stationed in Bahrain, although we didn't become close until we both ended up in California. He was attending his A school while I was stationed in San Francisco. We were part of a close-knit group that spent every weekend together, often crashing at my apartment. We partied hard, and I was completely unaware of how quickly my life was spiraling. He and I would stay up late having deep conversations, and I remember thinking, wow, he's like the male version of me. What I didn't realize at the time was that he was mirroring me, feeding me the exact words I wanted to hear. After our group graduated, loneliness crept in. When I needed a +1 for a family wedding, he came with me. That's when we came up with the idea to get married. The plan was to avoid being stationed apart, try dating, and if it didn't work out, just stay friends. I thought it was the perfect plan with no risk involved. Looking back, I have no idea why I thought that was a good plan. The only explanation I can offer is that I was deeply lonely, yet terrified of real commitment. I didn't believe I deserved genuine love, especially after I'd hurt an amazing person in a previous relationship. In the beginning, it felt like a fairy tale. I was in the middle of a love bombing phase, getting all the attention I'd craved for years. But over time, things started to shift subtly at first. I blamed the changes on stress, lack of sleep, depression, and the grief I felt after losing my dog. I had relied on that dog for comfort and safety more than I realized. During college, I had experienced a traumatic event where a man repeatedly broke into my apartment. One night I woke up to find him standing over me. It left a scar both physically and emotionally. I never told anyone and carried that trauma for years. When I finally sought help, the doctor immediately prescribed depression medication without taking the time to understand my history. The side effects overwhelmed me, and within months, I was in an inpatient program. But my true rock bottom came when I checked into the same inpatient facility for the second time in that same year, only a few years ago. My relationship had become toxic and abusive. I was living in constant state of fight or flight. I couldn't sleep, barely ate, and felt completely numb. I was so overmedicated that I couldn't feel anything, becoming a shell of myself, wandering through life in a fog. Then something shifted. The relationship ended. I was devastated at first and begged him not to leave. But he told me the only way he knew how to punish me was to separate for a while. The night before, I had started another fight, part of a pattern I couldn't seem to stop. Now I understand that when we're in an abusive relationship, we begin reacting to automatic ways. It's our subconscious trying to protect us, signaling that something is deeply wrong. Those reactions were attempts to break free from a trauma bond I didn't yet recognize. Looking back, I also suspect that he wanted space because he was about to leave for college in Charleston. He had always been jealous of the freedom I once had, and later I found out there were other girls involved. A few days after the breakup, I reached out asking what I could do to fix things. He told me I needed to focus on myself, heal, and overcome my codependency. In hindsight, that was the best thing he could have ever said. Despite everything, I'm grateful to him. That relationship became the catalyst I needed to begin healing from past trauma. 4 months after our separation, I started to feel like myself again. I began enjoying life more, staying present, and appreciating everyday moments. But eventually I hit a plateau in therapy. It felt like we were going in circles, revisiting the same wounds. I was already ready to grow beyond them. I adored my therapist. She helped me more than she probably knows. But I needed something different, something more forward-focused. That's when I decided to hire my first life coach. It was a huge and uncomfortable step. I had never invested in much in my life before, spending $3,000 in a 90-day program, but I was willing to try anything, and it was worth every penny. It was the first real investment I made in myself, and I know I'll work with her again someday. She helped me build self-confidence, taught me how to keep promises to myself, and encouraged me to get back out into the world. I began going out more, enjoying solo activities, and learning how to truly be okay alone. I took myself on dinner dates, went dancing, snowboarding, and even camping all on my own. I realized I could explore and create meaningful experiences without needing anyone else to be there. Now, I genuinely crave solitude in a healthy way. But the most important thing she taught me was this: I am in control of my life. I have the power to write my own story. At the time, this was a foreign concept to me. For so long, I believed the life I dreamed of wasn't possible. I thought I had to follow the traditional path, 9-to-5 job, limited vacation, constant burnout. But what if I could travel the world, work fewer hours, make more money, and be genuinely happy? It was exhilarating and terrifying. I knew exactly what kind of life I wanted, but my mind constantly resisted. I sabotaged myself over and over again. Still, I learned enough to know that I wanted to help others. If I could find my light again, I could help others find theirs too. I don't regret anything. None of the pain, mistakes, or dark chapters. Every experience shaped the person I am today, and I love who I've become. My hope is that through your own journey of rewriting your beliefs, you also take a moment to honor how far you've come and embrace who you are becoming. And that was the introduction and chapter 1. So stay tuned for next week for chapter